Hey everybody, Dr. Keith here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to talk a little bit about vitamin D. Hopefully you're already taking vitamin D, but if you maybe took a break from it or you've never taken it, there's going to be some great information for you in the short presentation about vitamin D, why you should be taking it, why your family should be taking it. So it's called the sunshine vitamin. It's actually a hormone, and the main way that humans are going to make it is through the sunlight penetrating our skin. And in our skin, we're going to kind of convert a couple different molecules into vitamin D. That's the real way we're supposed to get it. We can get it, some of it from food. Mostly it's going to be from fish, healthy meat, some healthy organ meat, and eggs. You're not going to get a ton of it from this, even if you're eating a lot of that kind of food. And sunshine often gets a bad rap. Mostly for kind of cancer, and it's really not true that sunshine is going to cause cancer. It's specifically UVA is more linked to it. UVB is what makes vitamin D, and interestingly, sunscreen blocks UVB, most of them at least, and allows UVA to penetrate. So applying sunscreen really doesn't do much for limiting the risk of cancer. So there's many strategies you can use when you're out, say at the beach or just out and about in the sun, especially when it's hot out. Is just go into the sun, kind of go back in the shade. Because remember, it's really important to get sunlight, but you don't want to get overexposed to. Certainly, getting burned all the time is not good for you. Things like that. And this goes for everyone. Kids can get a little bit of sunlight, kind of come back, get in the shade. Everybody needs vitamin D, as you'll see. What's really interesting is that it's actually made from cholesterol. And so sometimes if we're on medications that are trying to lower cholesterol and things like that, it actually will affect the vitamin D level in your body. So it's something to think about if you're on something like that. And we'll talk about cholesterol in another presentation at some point, relatively soon. So mainly we just want to know if we have enough in our body. And the main way to know that is through blood work. Generally, the general recommendation is between 32 and 100. As far as a lab range. Obviously that's a ridiculously spread out range. The Vitamin D Council recommends between 50 and 80 as kind of the optimal range. And so if you've never had a blood test, it's really good to kind of get one, see where you're at, see if you need to kind of take a higher dose for a while, if you're kind of in that range and you kind of need to be more of a maintenance dose. You know, and we often get asked, can I just go out in the sunlight? You can, but you're probably not going to get enough, especially if you're living somewhere around where the office is in the Cleveland area. You're not going to get enough. And in this area, you're only going to get enough from the sun in the summer months, really. After that, number one, you're going to be wearing heavier clothes, and number two, actually the angle of the sun rays, you're just not going to, your body won't produce as much. But the vitamin D has a huge effect on the immune system. That's why it's really important that we have appropriate levels year-round. And that's why we often see a lot of flu and things like that in the winter, is because these levels kind of drop down. And there's all kinds of other factors that affect our immune system, certainly stress, kind of poor eating, poor exercise patterns, not seeing a chiropractor, things like that all affect it. But you can see from this little quote from a research article is that it affects all kinds of different cells that really help fight different viruses, different bacteria, etc. So really, it's just really important for cell function, and as you'll see, it's found on most cells within the body, has all different kind of responses for the body, but it's really important for different signaling. It actually has inflammatory properties, so it helps reduce inflammation when you have appropriate levels. Now, we like to think about it as just having appropriate levels of inflammation in your body, because inflammation, it can be good, but too much of it is not. So we want to have a balance in there, and that's having appropriate levels of vitamin D is one way that we help do that. And it's also involved with gene expression. When we have appropriate levels, we see different gene expressions. And so in this study, they were kind of looking at that versus people who have low levels, high levels when they're taking it, and they show that genes are expressed differently. And if you you've been to some of our talks, we talk a lot about epigenetics and different gene expression. So as you can see here, it's required by all kinds of different cells. You know, they found it in all kinds, including brain, prostate, breast, colon, kind of all kinds of different things. And that's how some of this is actually even related to kind of cancer stuff. Because we do see a lot of research with obviously breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate, they're very common. And so we see research with vitamin D levels, and so when appropriate levels are in the body, we see great reductions in those. So there's two main forms that you can supplement with. There's a vitamin D2 and vitamin D3. So D2 is a prescription form, and it's usually given in super high doses, and most of the time you'll take it about once a week. D3 is a non-prescription. What's awesome is it works better and it's cheaper and it's easier to take. So most of the time you're going to want to be dosing with about 2,000 to 10,000 what's called international units for most adults. Now, obviously, this could be dependent on what your lab work shows if you have a vitamin D test, but for more of a maintenance, it's going to be somewhere in this level, in this range. And the main reason, remember, that you want to take this is because your cells require it. Remember, we talk about that a lot, is that you want to do what's required for your cells, for your body. If you don't have an adequate amount or an appropriate amount, you're not gonna function optimally. And as I mentioned earlier, everybody needs optimal vitamin D levels. So it's for everyone, every day, for life. And that's the motto of Innate Choice, and that's the products that we use specifically in our office, and my family uses specifically, is Innate Choice. And they have a couple different ones. The main one you're going to use is called D-Sufficiency. There's another product that we'll use sometimes with kids, but even a lot of the kids just take D-Sufficiency. Like I said, you can get it from some foods, and these are definitely foods that we encourage you to eat, but you're not going to get a tremendous amount from it. And as you've been listening to the nutrition talks, you've definitely heard us talk about this a little bit. But it's really, really important that you still go out in the sun, because it's going to be the best way for you to produce vitamin D. So try to do it as much as possible. Like I said, if you wear sunscreen, you're going to not produce vitamin D. There's a variety of other things that can limit vitamin D production, so it's another reason why we're going to need to supplement with it. If you have any questions about this, go ahead, just contact us any way possible here, and again, you can call the office, set up an appointment even. I'm Dr. Keith. Have an amazing day.